Hey everybody. In this video is kind of a continuation of the last video, but it should be helpful to anybody who wants to control an external sampler or drum machine, or even a synth for that matter, but this is going to revolve around the drum rack. Anybody that wants to control an external device from Ableton, specifically this is kind of for the push, but it could just be from Ableton in general. If you have another controller controlling your drum rack, or just want to be able to sequence those devices from Ableton. But the idea behind this, and this ties into the last video with the MIDI implementation from the S2400, what I wanted to do, since the sequencer is kind of crap on the S2400, is I wanted to be able to sequence it from the push via Ableton. You could also do it if you had push 3 standalone. That would be cool too. So my first idea here, and I've done something similar like this a long time ago, was to drop a drum rack onto a MIDI channel, and then how do I route these notes so that they go out via MIDI and I can control it from the drum rack here. So the first problem I ran into is when you drop a drum rack on a track, let me just turn on my Pro Mouse so you can see where I'm pointing here. When you turn on a drum rack, all of a sudden your MIDI out is gone. It wants to route that to an audio device. So my first idea, which actually did kind of work, was to take an external instrument, drop that onto the pad, then set this to whatever MIDI port you have. Mine is the multi-clock and pad 10. Then you got to go break this out and go to your IO and just, I don't know why Ableton defaults, that it's not the same note. So got to change this to C1. What is C1? So now you can see it works, right? That's cool. So what I did was I just started duplicating these, and I made 64 of them. I'll show you the rack that I made. It's 2400 rack. So you can see I named this heavy CPU external instrument because when I had 24? No. 8, 16, 40. When I had 4 banks of 8, which is what I wanted to control here, it works awesome. I mean, it works perfect. But the problem I ran into that I didn't know was that each instance of this external instrument is CPU intensive. Even though I told it no audio input and I'm only using it to route the MIDI, it is extremely CPU intensive. And the way that I noticed this is I was using it in a session, and I would go to create an audio track or a MIDI track, and it was taking what seemed like 30 seconds. It probably was like 10 or 15, but it seemed like it was taking like 30 seconds to create a drum rack. Now you don't notice it right now when I'm creating these because I have a stripped down session, but even the session I was using really didn't have a whole lot going on in it. And I did a little research and found out that yes, this external instrument is unfortunately very CPU intensive. So what else can we do? So after doing some more research, let's get rid of this bad boy. I learned that you can do in a drum rack. I've never even used this device before, but there is a MIDI effect rack. So drop that bad boy on there, and then I can go in here, do the same thing, hit the IO, change this MIDI note number. What was it? 36? Yeah, 36. But now I'm back to the problem where I don't have any way to route this to MIDI, unfortunately. Now I can go ahead and duplicate these and assign all my MIDI note numbers, and that is great. And that's what I did here. Let me pull this rack up that I made. And so now I have a rack, same idea as the last rack, but instead of using the external audio effect, we're using the MIDI effect rack. So we got all the things routed, but now I got to get it to route the MIDI. And the only way, unfortunately, to do this is to add another MIDI channel and route the audio from this channel into this channel. Whoops, I didn't want Isla. I wanted my drum racks. I named it needs MIDI routing because you have to tell it to tell this track, the second MIDI only track, to listen to this track and set it to input monitoring. And does it have to be armed? We're going to find out here in just a second. So you can see now it is receiving the MIDI from that track. And now I need to set the output to my MIDI port and my MIDI channel. And now it's working. So unfortunately, it requires 2 tracks. And that was one of the things I kind of wanted to avoid, because in everything I want to do, I want to have it all set up and have it be speedy so that I can just drop it onto a track and immediately start controlling it, have everything set up. So the pros and the cons of the workaround. The con is that I'm going to have 2 channels. The thing that also I learned today that I was excited about, and I did this off intuition and I was surprised that it worked, was I took these 2 tracks and I grouped them, and I named this like something like S2400 drum rack. Now, I know I can pull in tracks from other sessions. If you don't know, that's a really powerful thing you can do. You can go to, one of your old sessions and pull up a track, and you can, grab, your kick drum and just drag it into a session. Sorry, you actually have to have it opened up like this hat here. I can drag that in. So I knew I could do that, but I wanted to be able to have that kind of organized. So what I did, this is pretty neat. I went to my user library and I actually opened it in the Finder. Let me pull this over here. You won't be able to see the Finder, I don't think, on my screen share. But I opened the Finder and I created a new folder called track racks or MIDI templates, whatever you want to call it. And what I did is I actually grabbed that group that I made with those 2 tracks that have all my assignments on them. I dragged that into this folder. So now what I can do is I can just grab this track here and drag it in. Sorry, I got to open it up one more time, one more level here. Drag this right here. And now you can see I dragged that track in. It's already grouped. Here's my drum rack with all my stuff on it. And then here's my MIDI routing. For some reason, I didn't save the input monitor, but I'll just click that on here. And now if I go back to this, should work, which is pretty sweet. This is exactly what I was looking for. I did want to avoid using 2 tracks, but being able to save a track group or even a track with all those settings on it, you can see it had all, I don't know why it didn't save the monitor, but you can see it saved all the routing. It even saved the interface and the MIDI channel. And now I'm able to use this drum rack to sequence the S2400 just like I wanted to. And for me, I use the multi-clock to send clock to all my devices. I'm constantly finding old sessions that doesn't have it in the template, or I'm working on a collab and I want to have that on my session. I'm having to go and put and build it back in. I use a solo safe on there. So I was able to save my multi-clock and I can just drag that onto, got to go one more level out again. I was able to just grab that and drag it on. It has my audio output settings. It didn't save my track delay for some reason, unfortunately, which is minus 50 milliseconds. So there's some stuff that it doesn't save when you save these default tracks, but some of them is very helpful. So I hope this helped to be able to know how to set this up. You do have to have a little, unfortunately you have to have that second track, but not a big deal, since now I can take that group track and save it in a folder and be able to just pull it up at a moment's notice, which I could see a lot of application for other stuff that you have set up. It's cool to be able to save devices, save clips, and have those in folders, which, obviously I do here. I have, drum racks, and I have chop racks and all that kind of fun stuff. But how cool is it to also be able to save groups and individual track setups that have the devices already built into them, and be able to grab those and drag it up. So just another time saver, but then also, of course, the whole reason why we wanted to do this was to be able to control that drum rack. So I hope you learned something today. If you want to support the channel, you can hit me up on Patreon down below, but just hit a like and subscribe, leave a comment. I try to respond to every comment. Hope you have a great day. God bless.